schedule, budget, something like that for marketing. So you get used to the same old thing when they come in and they take lots of photos and their posters and things. And History came along and they said that we really want to do something in tandem with the show. We want to make this documentary so people can learn a little bit more about the characters. And then obviously, because it's a drama season, we take liberties with certain things. Ragnar and Rollo aren't really brothers in history. We can actually make something that can actually kind of write the little bits and bobs that we kind of brush over in the show. And I think it was a fantastic idea, and I jumped at the chance to be a part of it, but I had no idea that when I was actually going to be in Rouen and standing over Rollo's grave, and then going to Iceland, like you see, and then being in the middle of a snowstorm in a little turf hut in the middle of nowhere, how resonant it would be for me. And it was almost kind of like all that work that I put in over four and a half years on the show, kind of all came back and made it all worthwhile to actually just walk in the footsteps of my character.
Well, it's kind of a full circle moment for sure for you. Now, I mentioned that this is your first Fan Expo. I feel like we're all kind of Vikings in some ways when we come to Fan Expo, because it's all about us kind of pillaging, well, with our money, and getting as many things as we can. So I want to ask you, what sort of, is there an item, is there something that you just want to get? What's your prized possession when it comes to, if you get a chance to kind of walk around and find it?
Well, as far as Vikings is concerned, I'm going to get myself into so much trouble now. I stole most of the stuff that was to my house. I'm living over here at the moment now, and I've got a slightly bigger house than I had in London, so I've got a spare room, so I've turned it into my little man cave. And I've got shields and sunstones and sunboards and things like that all over the place. But at this one, I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and I love aliens and Predator and Highlander and things like that. So I'd love a pulse rifle and.
So Rollo's looking for a weapons upgrade, is what you're saying essentially.
I've always wanted a detector as well, so I could just walk around the house and.
People can actually imagine that. Now, do you got any questions out there? I don't want to take up all the time. So first one right there.
Hi. I saw the Real Vikings with Rollo, and I'm wondering if you've ever gotten a DNA test to see if you are a Viking or in your English heritage, since Rollo's ancestors became kings.
I haven't, but I did. I had the chance, and it was the film. Scientists were actually doing trials and things and taking blood samples, and we were actually all going to go down, Gustav Skarsgård, myself, and we didn't get around to doing it because we were just our filming schedule is crazy sometimes, so I never have. But I think I'd be really let down if I found out I didn't have any Viking names.
Got a blue shirt, Jedi.
Okay.
Hi. Thanks for being here and sharing your positive energy with us. It's amazing. I think we can all agree that Rollo is the man of the show, especially the enemy. And if you want to call Game of Thrones, I think he's won. I mean, he and his ancestor, William the Conqueror, I mean, far-reaching even more beyond with making Ragnar still look like a goat farmer, essentially. Yourself, you're somebody who supports protecting people like your beloved Sea Shepherd. So I wondered if you would talk to us about whale conservation and how you got involved with that.
With Sea Shepherd, I'm someone that likes to, if I believe in something, I want to be stand up and counted for. I don't believe in thinking something and then going home later and thinking, I wish I just spoke my mind and stood up for something I believe in. And I've always been mad about the sea and any marine life, and now it's gone beyond that because I kind of feel like if the ocean dies, then we die, which is one of Sea Shepherd's slogans, which resonated in me. But Sea Shepherd for me is all about direct action. I'm not really one for standing around on a boat and waving flags around saying don't kill the whales and then letting the whalers just drive straight by you and kill the whales. I'd rather get in there in the water and stop them from killing the whales. And so Sea Shepherd kind of seems to be the charity that kind of stands out for me as something that kind of reflects how I believe action should be taken.
Right there.
Do you think there's any chance that Ragnar forgives you again, or?
I think what's interesting now that you've seen this, and because I always get worried about talking too much about the characters because the spoilers are all in the history books. But as we've just watched this documentary, I think what's interesting about the storyline at the end of the season that you've seen, the mid-season break, is that Rollo really is the catalyst to Ragnar's downfall. As you see on the documentary, it talks about how Ragnar just wants to go on one last quest. He wants to eclipse his sons. So this battle in France is a catastrophic event for him, because he's going to have to go back to his people, and they're going to lose all faith in the legend that is Ragnar Lothbrok. And his sons are now growing, and they're wanting to leave the nest and make their own mark. And the reason why Rollo and Ragnar fell out in the first place is that Ragnar was traveling up going through the stratosphere of Viking society and leaving Rollo in his shadow. And Rollo just wanted to break out of that shadow, and he knows he's capable of something. He knew that he could be famous, and that's what it's about. It's about the fame and living on, not about being famous like the Kim Kardashian way, which is just kind of selfies up there and this was about really making your mark on the world and being worthy of being in Valhalla. So this is why this battle happened in the first place, that Ragnar wouldn't let Rollo, spread his wings, and now he's going to have his own sons wanting to spread the wings. So he's losing power, and I think this is almost, his trajectory is down. And I think that's what's interesting as well, that Rollo over 4 seasons has just been pushed down and trampled on by Ragnar, and Ragnar has just continued to rise. And now, for one, it's an original plot point in any story or TV show I've seen, and now they're swapping that now, and Rollo's starting to rise as Caesar, and Ragnar's losing, his people are losing faith in him, which is probably why he's going to end up eventually going on that last quest to England, and trying to clutch at straws to make people remember who Ragnar Lothbrok is.
Well, to add to Superman's question over there, for you, obviously, kick some Viking ass, but we saw that brief moment in the trailer when you kind of talk about your Viking history. Do you think that Rollo has a sense of guilt, or did you have a sense of guilt as an actor playing that and kind of turning against your heritage?
Yeah, well, I never judge a character I play anyway. I mean, it's not my job. My job is to ask questions of myself, put myself in his shoes. Sometimes ask some really harsh questions of myself, and hopefully put them up on the screen, warts and all, for you guys to judge. I think there was nothing left for him in Kattegat. I think his only connection or any chance of redemption would be through Björn. Björn's like he's like a father figure to Björn, and you could argue that maybe he is Björn's father. There was no paternity test in those days. But Rollo was having a relationship with Lagertha that Björn came along. But other than that, when Siggy dies, his whole life crumbles. He's in that episode 5 in Season 3, when he has to fight with Björn, he wants to die. It's only he's close to suicide. It's only the seer that kind of really brings him back from that void and gives him that one glimpse of there may be a chance of some kind of destiny out there for you, but it doesn't lie here, it lies in Paris. And he knows that now. So for me, I don't necessarily see it as a betrayal. I see it as he's finally found it within Charles, the king of Francia, a father figure he's never had. He's got Princess Gisela, who's a woman who actually genuinely loves him and he cares for. And he has a whole people that are his people, that accept him, and after he makes that grandiose effort to take on their etiquette and their fashion and gain their respect, then I think, well, this is his home now. So he's not betraying anyone, he's actually found his place, he's found his people.
It's an official question. When you had the straighter hair, the Frankish hair, was that easier as an actor to have than the sort of war-torn, muddied up hair? What was sort of easier in terms of makeup and preparation?
Well, in season 1, 2, and 3, it was my own hair with some hair extensions to make it thicker and longer. I had hair down to my boobs. But actually, in season 4, in that transformation, I did a film in between, and I had to shave my head to be an American GI. So I had to have a wig in season 4. So actually, it didn't feel like it was me anyway. And I felt like I looked like Fabio. But there was that great moment. At the beginning of every season, I always kind of get back into costume, get in the clothes, get in the hair, the makeup, the scars, and everything. I look in the mirror and I feel like Rollo. And there was something really disconcerting because it happened very early in season 4 when that transformation happened, and I had a fake wig I had Rollo's wig for the first 2 episodes where you find me, and then obviously when she cuts my hair, when the hairdresser cuts my hair, they brought this wig to me. And I looked in the mirror and I was devastated. I played that. I mean, Rollo was devastated. Rollo was suddenly going, what the hell have I done? You know, what do I look like? And it brought a new vulnerability to Rollo. And I think from that, I found some comedy that I didn't see in the script originally, which was quite nice to play.
History nerds, yes. We all grew up kind of fixated on a part of history that we just absolutely loved as kids. Is there an era that you wish you were ever a part of?
Vikings has become my life for the last 4 years, so I'm kind of obsessed with Viking culture and things. But yeah, I grew up in England. My parents, we never really had any money to go away abroad on holiday, so my mum used to always try and make another English holiday original. And we'd end up, at the time I hated it. I was going around every ruin and monastery and castle and doing brass rubbings and things and kind of going around and having guided tours and things. But that kind of upbringing is kind of almost, now I'm an adult and I've got kids of my own, I've kind of embraced it. I know so much about history and I'm a bit of a history buff, and I can, most people are watching, binge watching kind of things on Netflix. I kind of tend to put, the documentary channels on and I just kind of binge watch all these different history documentaries. But if it wasn't the Viking Society at the moment, because that's kind of where my head is, I've always been fascinated by the time of privateers and pirates, which is still something I've never done on screen before. But if I was going to do it on screen, I'd like to do the real thing. And nothing against Black Sails and those kind of shows, but I'd want to get down to the nitty-gritty of what it was to be in Port Royal, and the show I want to be in would be a cross between Black Sails with something more like Boardwalk Empire, because I think it was like the original gangsters, the original kind of, where there was no rules. That's
I'm actually amused by the shirts that you wear. That's part of my French. How do you go about picking your shirts?
I don't know. I just always have so much fun at Comic-Cons. I'm a big geek at heart, and I sometimes are on these panels. I've done some in the past where I've had, I did one Comic-Con where I had William Shatner on this side of me, and I had Sam J. Jones from Flash Gordon on the other side of me, and other people that I respect, and I felt I wanted to be in the audience asking questions. If I was weird, I am a big geek, and I just. When I go there, I feel like we can share stories. I can talk about the pranks and the silly stuff we get up to, and you guys respond to it, and it's kind of nice to share the show with people that are just as invested as I am in it. A lot of the time, I do press, and I have a publicist who tells me I've got to dress up smart, and wear a suit or wear shoes that someone's lent me that I have to give back afterwards. And then I tell those jokes and pranks, and it's like tumbleweed, because all the journalists are not allowed to show any kind of a lot of the time they're not allowed to kind of show that they like your show. They've got to just report on it and be discursive about it. So they're all like writing away, and it's so you go to Comic-Con and you get an automatic response. If you don't like something, you tell me. If you love something, I can hear it. So I kind of tend to just kind of get carried away with it, and I like to wear a t-shirt that kind of the last one I wore at Comic-Con was a little bit more. I wore the Normandy flag, which people are like, what's it wearing? It's just a bit of fun, and I genuinely enjoy the Comic-Cons more than any of the other press I do.
Oh, wait, you already asked. Sorry, Superman on hold.
Hi, so I just want to take a completely different track. The very first thing I saw you in was this Bollywood film. Say London.
Get her out now!
So I'm going to watch that. But I just wanted to, I was just wondering, how did you get into that? Was it, because it was a cheesy film, was it like just a paycheck, or were you into that?
I can answer that on a higher level, because the truth is I hate it when actors turn around. I mean, luckily I can laugh about it, because you're talking about a Bollywood film. It was one of the first things to do when I came out of drama school. But I do hate it when you see, generally the famous actors you see on TV, and they say, so why did you do this film? They go, well, when Kenneth Branagh rings, you don't say no. It's like, he didn't ring you. You had like 7 auditions. You were begging for that part. There was a list of 20 other people that they wanted more than you, who all passed on it, and then you ended up with a job, and congratulations. There's a lot of work goes into that, and you should embrace that. But it wasn't a paycheck. I came out of drama school, and you're lucky to get an agent when you come out of drama school. And you work and you work and you work. And then you get an agent, you're lucky to get an audition. And you get an audition, you're lucky to get a job, whether it be a walk-on role in some soap opera or something like that. And Namaste London, which was a lot of fun to do. It was one of the first jobs I did at drama school, and actually there is a funny story, because when I got there, the producer came up to me and he said, "Hey Jason, And he wasn't involved in any of the casting, but even when I was on the plane out there, they were convinced that I was Jason Connery. Sean Connery's son, who was also in a Robin Hood thing, which I thought was a bit, because I went later on to do Robin Hood. But yeah, so I spent the first week pretending to be Jason Connery on this. Thinking, well, yeah, well, they paid me now, I don't want them to take the money back. But no, it was a lot of fun. It was a massive culture shock because I did a Bollywood film, and half of it was filmed in England, half of it was filmed in India, and the Bollywood stars out there, it's like 1950s Hollywood. I mean, some of the people I was working with, it was like the equivalent of working with Akshay Kumar is like the George Clooney of Bollywood. But I remember I had this day where we were filming in a nightclub in India, and he said, "Do you want to?" I had some eau de toilette on or whatever, and he was going, "What perfume are you wearing?" And it was, I don't know what it was. And I told him, he was like, "You haven't seen any perfumes until you've seen really Indian perfumes." And he said he's going to take me to this shopping mall across the street from where we were filming at lunchtime. So lunchtime comes, and this is a guy that when we were filming in England, he had like 4 massive bodyguards, these big Polish bodyguards, and no one cared. You'd be walking down, Tower Bridge or something, there'd be the occasional person that would come up and recognise who he was and take a picture. But there was these massive guys all the time, and no one was allowed anywhere near him. It was a bit overkill. And then when we went out, I came up to him at lunchtime, I'm like, "Come on, let's go." And he was like, "No. You have to wait for my bodyguards." This was like 100 meters between where we were filming and the shopping centre, and when we walked across the shopping centre, he literally was mobbed. And what I used to say was, because it's a long time ago now, but I remember when David Beckham came back to Manchester, and he was mobbed in the streets. And it was like that. I was walking in this kind of a cocoon by these 4 ginormous bodyguards with him in the middle. And they were beating people up with it, which I didn't approve of at all. I was like, "Whoa! Get away!" It was like Slumdog Millionaire or something like that. There were all these people just and he was just walking as if it was just normal. So I saw things like that, which, I've got stories, and I can talk about that, but that's probably another time. But I'm glad I did it for those stories and just seeing how the other half live wrongly.
We have time for one more question. Right over there, in the back, with that bird thing.
You mentioned pranks. Could you tell us a story of a time you pranked someone or someone else pranked you?
I just did. I'm filming Taken over here at the moment. I'm the young Liam Neeson character. And I got a new cast. So Travis was always the ringleader pranking on Vikings because he's the lead. And what I liked about that, not just because he's the lead, but I think it's a really good quality for a lead actor to have. Not pranking, but to actually not take yourself too seriously. And I think Travis, over 4.5 years of working with him, he has managed to make the atmosphere on set a working environment, a healthy working environment for everybody, the cast and the crew. There's no divas, there's no one that takes himself too seriously. Everyone's there to do their job, and we are. And I hate saying the word, but family word, but in Vikings, when you work with an Irish crew, they are a family. And if you don't fit in, if you've got some kind of diva qualities and you want to kind of stamp your foot down, they'll oust you. But if you want to play ball and be one of the team, then they really do invite you in to be part of the team. And Travis is like the kind of guy, he doesn't want a trailer, he doesn't want this, so therefore if you're a lead actor, you're number 1 on the call sheet, doesn't want any of that special treatment. It makes it very hard for any new actor coming in who's got delusions of grandeur to ask for anything like that. So, if you do meet an actor that starts hissy-fitting and complaining, I know the feed's not very nice, I'm on the top of the hill and it's raining all day, and then Travis will just throw an apple at it. or you'll suddenly find yourself, with chickens in your car and hay, you go back to that, or your whole car will be doused in clean film and shaving foam, whatever. But it's good. So I've taken that into Taken. So I don't like to talk about Travis's pranks all the time because I kind of feel like it should be him. But just recently, one of the cast members of Taken was staying in the hotel, and we managed to get hold of when he was upstairs in someone else's room in this hotel. We went down and got his card, and we went into his bedroom and we took every last bit of furniture in the hotel room into his bathroom, and then put the mattress in last, so he couldn't open the bathroom door. And then we kind of went back up to the room he was in, and then he plays the guitar, and we were like, "Hey, go get your guitar, let's have a sing-off." And he kind of went in, and he had so much pride. And he came back like 20 minutes later, and he came back in the room as if nothing had ever happened. That was the most recent prank. I think it's important. I think it's important to kind of get away from that. I mean, I talked about it in the Bollywood thing, but there's just so many actors out there that just take themselves far too seriously. And I don't see why they should be treated any better than the crew. I mean, if anything, the crew work, they get in there before anyone else, and they work into the bitter end of the shoot. But between that moment when they say, rolling, action, and that moment where they say cut, the actors are the most important people because we're making the story and that's our space. But no other time do you get a crew member going, oh well, I'm not needed, can I go home early because I'm not in this last scene? You know, the actors get it easy, and I just don't get why they can demand so much. And Vikings has been a breath of fresh air because we got rid of all that from the very beginning, and that's kind of the formula that Travis is responsible for.
Clive, thank you very much on behalf of everyone here. So come check that out. Also check out the history booth, and you can get a Rolo tattoo. So if you see me, I'll probably be there at the same time. And if you have an alien Paul Scout, watch out because he might get Rolo on you.